I usually just use number one thing in the area, which I should have mentioned first, is also my area. If you take note, my whole area is clean, super clean. I'm talking like from head to toe, from top to bottom. Very, 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 very important step that a lot of people miss. I think a lot of people rely upon sterilization as opposed to cleanliness. Cleanliness should already be a habit in everybody's homes. You do not have to use chemicals. I do. I use them first though because I do not like them in my grains. So I go ahead and Lysol like hard to clean areas, especially up above because I don't have like a lab. I don't use a still air box. I keep my stuff old school. Been growing mushrooms since the year 2099-ish. And I became a pro at growing mold. And then I became a pro at growing mushrooms. So clean your area top to bottom. I clean it with Lysol. Lysol is highly effective. And then after I clean it with Lysol, I clean it with Dawn dish soap and water because I want to clean off the Lysol because Lysol is also a contaminant. After I do that, I will wash it down with just a regular water rag and then rinse it. You probably don't have to go to that extreme. I do just because I would rather spend 2 or 3 days sterilizing my area rather than dealing with contamination because it really, really sucks when you spend a lot of time and money and grow mold and have to throw everything away and start over again. And it's a whole lot easier to get rid of, to prevent mold from growing. I will tell you this right now, when you're cleaning, think small. Mold is everywhere. It's in your curtains. The mold spores are everywhere. You add fluid, and I'm gonna tell you now, they're floating around in the air. So we're gonna try to keep most of them out of our grains before we do the sterilization process because it's a whole lot easier to sterilize clean grains than it is to sterilize moldy, contaminant grains. I pre-wash my jars and my lids and I just do that. I don't go overboard, but I do know this. Jars, you will notice as you reuse them that mycelium will run through. They'll last through the dishwasher. You'll reuse jars, and then next thing you know, jars will be growing mushrooms of several types because they didn't get cleaned. A lot of people use a little power drill with a scrub brush on it. I just use vinegar. This is just a pre-sterilization wash. I just use the cheap stuff. I know it's Walmart brand. I am not Walmart dude, but I use vinegar, water, soak my bottles or my jars, soak my lids, and then I also, you'll want to get everything else ready, but we could do that later. But in order to get things ready for your grain soak, I can show you later in another part of the video what you're going to need. I usually just have all my stuff ready. My PC, I've got several of these. This is my go-to. It's a 26 quart Presto. Old school, 3rd generation, has not blew up yet. My old juicers, I normally do 2 grain. I usually do them to the top, 2 grains at a time. Like I said, I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. And I use gypsum. You don't have to use this. I've been using it forever because that's just the way I learned. And I have tried it without it, and I prefer it with it because I do believe that it does shave time off and it benefits growth. So gypsum, all that is just gypsum powder, super cheap. I got my mushroom spoon. The only thing I use that for is mushrooms because wood will absorb other things and contaminate your mushrooms. So the goal is to eliminate contamination. Number 1, always think clean, 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 clean. Like I said, keep your area clean, 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 clean. Okay, and then what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to measure out your grains. So if you're growing, my Presto PC holds 9 quart jars. That's how many I PC at a time. So what I do is basically 5, 4, 5. It's about 5. It's anyways. So I get these. These are dusty. Remember this. Keep in mind as you dump your grains into your pan. Grains are almost 100% contaminated with mold spores. Okay, so when that dust flies up and the particles fly up, you will contaminate your whole area for future reference. So it is very, very important to just try to keep the dust down. So that just means scoop it and then kind of be gentle with it, because remember, the more you stir up in the air, the more you are risking contamination. Okay, after that, what I do is I'm just going to go ahead and set this up here and see if I can't I might have to grab something else. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I do with my grains prior to the soak. I get over here to my kitchen sink and I do a rinse. What I do is I basically fill this pot up with water. What I'm trying to do is get all of the shit off there. You know what I mean? So for time purposes, I'll try to make it quick. Just because I'm already running in like 10 minutes almost into this video. So once I get those in, I reach my hand in there, I stir it up just to get that real stirred up and nice. Okay, what I do, I stir them up, and then I go ahead and drain my water on the garbage disposal lid. So see how it's coming out all nasty? Yeah, that's shit you don't want in there. So I do that multiple times until the water comes back clean. Usually takes me about 3-4 times. Then once I get that done, once that's done, the water's coming back clean, I stick it over there on the stove and wherever I'm going to cook it so I don't have to carry it. And then I add my gypsum. What I add for gypsums normally, I don't have an exact measurement. I just literally grab my like little teaspoon or whatever and boom, boom, depending on how many grains I do. Get a little chunk in there. It doesn't hurt your grains. And then if you would like, you can add a little bit of coffee in there for your grain soak. I don't recommend growing mushrooms with coffee all the time, but the only time I do recommend it is with like a grain soak. It does affect your pH and it does help your mushrooms grow. Anyways, you can experiment with that as you want. Right now, I'm just going to do a regular ass grain soak. It's going to be your water, gypsum. Put the gypsum in, let it soak. I let mine soak overnight for 2 purposes. A lot of people do not do the grain soak. I do the grain soak for multiple purposes. For number 1, for heat-resistant mold spores. Okay? That cold water could activate them. And yes, I know that it's very rare to get them or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if you germinate a mold spore and get it active, it's a lot easier to kill it during sterilization process too. So, that's basically, this is going to be part 1. Part 2, just because I'm rolling into about 11 minutes, I guess I can maybe try to show you a few things. Okay, so anyways, I do the grain soak also for the purpose of it begins the breakdown process of the rye grains, because when your mycelium is going in there, that is going to break down them rye grains and consume the much needed or the nutrients and shit that it needs. Okay, so if you soak it overnight, it has to be like 12, 24 hours. Just overnight, I pop it like so. I'm at like, it's 2:41 a.m. right now. The reason I'm doing this video is because this is a good time for me. I got the house to myself right now. My daughter's sleeping. I will need her help tomorrow or use it. She's my mushroom partner. This is definitely a family event. Let it soak. It begins the process, and it could activate. It does activate your mold spores. Makes them easier to kill. Okay. Also, now I'll show you. Okay, so when you get your lids, I've got several lids here. Okay. Your lids are going to come like this. You are going to want a breather hole. My daughter has stole my hole punch. You can use like a little hole punch, or you can use, so I got out my little drill over here. And if you're not using jars, I'm doing the jars for the video just because there's also bags that you could use. I'll do a video on that later. But you can get a drill, like a little 3/8 drill bit, stack a few up, drill some holes in them. You're going to want a hole in the top of your lid, okay? So basically, that's not a very good one, but it's just a hole, just a little small hole. You know what I mean? It's not very big, like 3/8. And then once you get your hole in your lid, I would also get a little pair of needle nose pliers because those things do get sharp. Be careful if you're drilling them. I use like a hole punch, a heavy duty one. Pop, 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 pop. And it makes a little smaller hole, but it's highly sufficient. And then when I get these jars ready because after I'll do that in another video, but I'll show you. I like to get everything ready with my jars prior to, while my grains are soaking, I like to get everything ready. And what I do is I use Tyvek. I also got one of these just in case. So you can order these filters online from like Amazon or something. It's like a little filter. And these ones that I particularly got fit the big jars. So, oops, I dropped it. But thank goodness my ground is knocking down here. So it fits your big jars, you see, like this. And then once that goes on there, it's actually going to go like this. Lid, filter, cap. That's what you're going to do. Before you PC it, I'll show you that later. But we'll aluminum foil over the top of it. These ones, on the smaller ones that I prefer to use, lid with the hole in it, Tyvek filter. It's like a 0.3 micron, I believe. Some is not. It's like a painter's suit. You can get it like I cut these little round things out, and I enjoy doing it. But what I do is I put the lid on, put the Tyvek over. Make sure you got it towards your airflow, which would be, you got to remember, the shiny side of the suit is what tries to keep the contaminants out. So, and then put the lid on. Boom. Okay, filter. Aluminum foil, extra heavy duty. And I'll show you how to do that real quick too before you put them in the PC, because you're going to fill them up to about, I'll show you tomorrow, but you want to get your aluminum foil ready. Okay, so I just messed that up. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to get your aluminum foil ready. What I do is get a bunch of little squares ready. This one's too small, but I get a bunch of little squares ready as I'm prepping everything and waiting for my grains to soak. That way, after I heat them up, I can boom, and then bam, bam. Put your aluminum foil over the top of it. Okay. After that, that's basically part one for the grain soak. After we do this grain soak, I will definitely show another video tomorrow. So stay tuned for part two. It will be heating and filling the jars, and then probably gonna have to do a 3-part series, pressure cooking. To sterilize. So after that, I will also be doing a video, another segment for grain transfers. I will also be doing inoculation. So stay tuned. Don't forget, share my video, watch it, watch my YouTube, because there is a lot of good information coming. I guarantee.